So behind me is a monument of Robert Louis Stevenson. Robert Louis Stevenson is a Scottish author. This is a replica of the ship in his book Treasure Island. Robert Louis Stevenson is he met a French woman in France while he was writing his book. So he fall in love with her. Okay, he fall in love with her, and then she came to San Francisco. And what happened was that he didn't know that she's already married. Okay, she was already married, but they were madly in love. She was beautiful, smart, and then she was in love. So he followed her here to San Francisco to wait for her and hoping that she would get a divorce. And while he was waiting, he would come here to Portman Square, Robert Louis Stevenson, and writing his book. And he would come here and help the early Chinese. We're talking about 1870s, around that time. So he would come here and he would help the Chinese to translate paperwork with immigration issues and stuff like that. The reason I want to tell you this story is that even though at that time there were a lot of anti-Chinese sentiments and the Chinese were discriminated, there are people that, like Robert Louis Stevenson, who helped the Chinese here in the city or in the square. And as a result, the early Chinese learned to trust people, and then they were getting the help. So, and guess what? A few years later, the women got divorced, and he married the woman in Napa. And they went back to Scotland, and they lived happily forever. And so that's the story I want to share with you. It's just okay. Let's come over here at the corner over here.
跟着旅行团游览唐人街。
Okay, we're going to that building on the second floor. Okay, this is not the original building, but I was just wanting to point out. Okay, remember what I talked about, or the first Chinese American billionaire? There. Okay, so back in 1870, there was a Chinese herbalist named Li Taifeng. Okay. So instead of rushing toward to the Sacramento Valley to dig for gold, he would stay here. He's a Chinese doctor. So when people get sick, they would go to him and they would see him. And he claimed to have the power to heal the sick by basically feeling your pulse and then looking at your tongue. So he was able to see the sick about 100 people a day. Just imagine, if you get paid a nickel or a quarter and 100 people. Even the famous railroad tycoon, Leland Stanford and Mark Hawkins would come and see him, and they would pay him $1 or so to see him. And at that time in the 1870s, $1 is a lot of money. Just imagine, a nickel is almost like, today, nothing, right? But he would see approximately 100 people a day, 100 people a day. And then when you get sick, you would come and see him. And just imagine back then, the Chinese did not believe in Western medicine. So a lot of people, they would go to the doctor herbalist, or they would go to an herbal store, which I'm going to show you later, to buy medicine. And just, oftentimes today, what's so-called the wonder drug for cancer, or basically a synthesized form of Chinese medicines, okay? And then a lot of times people would go here, and even I'll tell you a little bit about my own stories a little bit across later. That if you get sick, if oftentimes you go to the store, go to across Chinese herbal, and you tell them exactly what your illness, and they would prescribe. They would prescribe and give you things to make soup or some herbs, and you mix it up together and you would drink it. So people rely on herbalists like that. In fact, in 1856, according to San Francisco directory, there were approximately 15 herbalists or herbal stores in San Francisco Chinatown. And in fact, 3 blocks away from here, the Chinese hospital still today incorporate Western and Chinese medicines. So when you go in there today, if you need like emergency stuff, of course they use Western medicine, but it prevented after you go home, they prescribe you Chinese medicine. Okay? And so this particular herbalist makes so much money by the end of, let's say, 1893, by the time he passed away. He was estimated to cost about $100,000 to $300,000 US back then in 1890. That's a lot of money. So that's almost like a multi or a millionaire today. Imagine. Let's go across the street. Everyone stay together.